Good morning, everybody, and let's get right into the action here. We've got some real good footage here from last Thursday, so let's just get it going to the first point. And the first thing we want to look at is the movement of the net people, especially let's key in on Laura here. And whoops, that's supposed to be a circle around her. There you go. And as the ball goes out wide, and this is the importance of tracking the ball and initially giving this hitter, in this case Andrea, making sure she sees that you're vested in protecting that alley for a split second, especially when she's hitting from a point of strength there. She's got a clear view, and what we notice is that a little bit of extra space has been left up that alley, and she sees it, and Laura's thinking about anticipating she's going cross court because you can see her feet kind of make a little move into the middle there. See how she's unweighting her left and going to her right, and Andrea has already made her decision, go up the line, and there you go. So it doesn't mean you can't poach. Just get over there, show them that there's no room to go up the alley, and then make your move to intercept. Okay. Now let's take a look at the net person, in this case, Andrea's position. And she's in a pretty good spot, shading to the center. I've made the suggestion maybe a little bit behind the service line would give you a little bit more time and cover the angle across the middle a little bit better. But what we're looking at here is before her partner hits the ball, and Andrea sees the ball's coming in, maybe figures, hey, Amy's got this. And you can see how she's kind of leaving that mark a little bit early and leaving the middle open. And whenever you're in Laura's position, and if you see your opponents ever doing something like this, really do the best job you can to maybe intercept that ball, because if you can, we can see that this space has been vacated in here. And being that, where Amy's moving up and hitting the ball in this fashion here, she's more than likely going cross court. That's where her momentum is taking her. So, just be careful about leaving your spot too early, and just as a friendly reminder, keep those eyeballs on that person. Don't trust that opposite net person. They can be very sneaky at times. Okay? So let's move on forward from there. There we go, coach. Okay? And again, positioning, keep in mind that most of us understand what we need to be doing out there, and it's the little things that there's little rough edges in your game that you want to smooth out that will make a difference for you. In this case, Amy is doing a pretty good job. She's eyeballing Laura there, but for my money, she'd be better off being more in this position here. And this will come up a little bit later, and I'll show you the value of that. So let's get on into the point here. Let's see what happens. Okay. And the reason is when you're moving up from that position, and you can see Amy's moving straight up, good aggressive move. But just going straight up from that deep of a position really doesn't get her close enough to the middle, because we can see this ball. I can see it. It's right there, right in the middle. And typically when balls are crossing that center strap, those, as we all know, are great balls to intercept. But that goes back to that beginning position, that if all of you were positioning yourself closer to the center at that point, and then when you move up, you're going to be on that ball pretty much every day. And so just something to be mindful of for yourself. Let's finish the point out here. Let's see what happens. And again, you can see this ball's crossing right around, a little bit further across the center. But, I love what I'm seeing here from both Amy and Laura, how they're eyeballing each other here, keeping track of each other during the course of the point. Laura tracks over to where the ball is. Okay, now at this point, Gail goes wide, takes her off the court, and I think Amy can see what's happening here. We can see Laura is starting to track in there, hunting for the ball. I think we need to just slide into that center a little bit more, especially when your partner's been pulled She's fundamental. Yeah, she's about 4 to 5 feet out into the green area there, and you can just see, there's a lot of court open here. So I have no idea how this point ends, but let's take a look. And there's Laura. She's got a sitter right there, and the question is where's she going to go with it at this point. If she hits a winner, she's got the Grand Canyon here, and that's really the only place you need to be going. You could go, at Amy's feet here, but when you have this significant area of the court wide open, it's pretty clear where you need to go. And what do you know? She hit it right where that little arrow was going. Great shot. Well done. And let's move on forward here. Okay, so in this position here, a couple little things that again that we can massage things and get a little bit better. Laura backed up here with Amy coming in, but with Andrea being that close to the net, I think shading to the center would be a lot better for Laura in this case, because if Andrea does get a ball, pretty much that's the valley that she's going to be hitting through. Now, as far as what Gail's doing right now, she's got a ground stroke, she's got a forehand, she has an opponent cross court that's only at a service line, and that's where she's got a couple of good targets to go to. She can go at her feet, she can go through the center here. Andrea is not quite into the center of the court right now, so she's got a couple of avenues to go with. In addition to this, with Andrea being in an aggressive position, being halfway up inside of her box, that lob is a third option for her. So let's just see where she goes with this. She takes the option of going into the middle a little bit. Good play right there. Okay, now she moves up to play this ball. I like Laura has made this adjustment because Andrea hasn't backed up. She's hunting for the ball. You can see how Laura has gone into a good defensive mode there. Now the question is, where is Gail going to play this? And again, if we look at her available options, we have her opponent Amy here still on the service line, so her feet are available. She also has some area to the middle, and she also, if she has this shot, she's got that little roller short angle cross court along with the lob again. So clearly a lot of good options there. Let's see where she goes with this, and this time she goes with the short angle. And just there's not much Amy could do here because she's got covering that plus her feet plus the middle. That's a lot to contend with. And so well done, Gail. Let's take this a little bit further forward now. Okay, now whenever you're in Gail's position here, and let's put a little circle around here, is to pay attention how the ball crosses the net. Okay, this time Andrea hits a really good serve, and if you see where the ball's crossing the net, right away that's got to tell Gail in the situation, this serve is going wide. And there's a lot of angle behind it, and you can see Laura is tracking out to that ball, but you can see Gail is not making the necessary movement with that situation. So Laura is effectively moving away from Gail, and that space between the two of them has gotten a bit on the big side. And so if Laura is not able to get this ball by Amy, she's got plenty of room to finish the point off. Laura comes back with it. Gail does a great job of getting off her service line and moving up, now thinking about playing some offense. Amy did a good job of playing defense, and now I can see what Laura is eyeballing there, and that is to go at that net person. And that's beautiful. And obviously when, Gail wants to pick this up as quickly as she can. This is where, if you look at Gail, she's pretty disciplined looking straight ahead here. And this is where this could be an instance where take a quick glance behind you and try to pick up your partner's ball, because that would give you a little bit of extra time here to move on over here into the center of the court. Because if Amy's going to get a racket on this ball, it's not going to go to Gail's right. It's going to come more than likely back in between. That's pretty much the basic deflection angle off of that. And that's sure enough, that ball comes across the center. And I think Gail does make a play on this. A little bit late. You can see, you're just moving back to the side, falling back. And now the question is, where is she trying to hit this ball? There's only one area to hit that through if you can get your racket on it, because you definitely don't want to go back to Amy on this, is to do your best. And if you can get the ball through the center, and I think she's able to do that. That's just a really good defensive play there. Nicely done. Moving forward. Okay. All right, let's just back this up a second. A good volley from Amy, but this is one of the reasons we're doing this, is how to take good and make it even better. So if we look at Amy at this point, she's right around the service line area, okay? And your goal here, players, is, are you reading a lob or a drive? And right now, if I were in Amy's position, I'm looking at Laura. She's slightly inside her baseline. She's shifting her weight forward in her preparation, which is telling me there's no lob coming. And so ideally is to move up a couple of steps, because by not moving up a couple of steps, and you can see she's hovering around the service line, not a bad area, not the best area though. And you can just see Laura's able to take her strength and go low into Amy, and Amy makes a really good play off of this. Don't get me wrong, but let's say if you're in Amy's position and you're up a couple steps closer, obviously you're playing that ball at a higher level, and you can see she goes back to Gail. It makes a pretty good play, but if you're in closer, that play to Gail has more pace on it, and that player will have less time to deal with it. And I know she didn't make this shot here, and but then again, we're looking at, can we make good better? And that's the one thing we would do, is when you read a drive, is to scooch up a little bit closer and not allowing your opponents to play into your feet. Okay, so here we go. Let's move on. And there's that play again. Boy, and all of you are starting to use this in your play, and I don't... sounds like a broken record, but when you get these kinds of balls, too often players out here will take this short ball and hit that cross court approach shot and then come into the net, and then you get lobbed. And here, Laura's inside the baseline. She's shifting her weight into her shot. That's her strength. And as one of my popular sayings, strength to weakness, and you take it over to that backhand volley over there, and generally that's going to work pretty darn good. And Amy's in pretty good shape right there. She shadowed the ball. She's right in front of it. It's not as if the alley's clearly wide open. It's just that Laura's inside the baseline and can really take time away from Amy, and there's not much you can do off of that when someone... Look how close Laura is in here as she's finishing that shot, and that forehand is coming over pretty darn fast at that point. So let's take a look at another point here. This is good defense here. Amy covering for her partner. Okay, and now she pops up the lob, and you know me, lob to that middle, and she doesn't get as deep as she wanted to. And again, what Laura's looking at is, I think pretty sure she's eyeballing this area. But unfortunately, or fortunately, let's see what happens here. That's one of those... It looked like maybe as she was hitting it, she was trying to hit across her body back in this direction. And when you get these kind of awkward type of shots where you're moving, she's not only moving up, she's moving to her right, and that can be somewhat of a tricky overhead. But when you are in those positions, is to kind of go with the flow, and the flow is she's going, her momentum is going off in this direction, and it's really tough to hit across your body at that point. And let's look at one more point in the sequence here. Let's back up a second. This is really good stuff, because here's the ball. Again, Laura's inside her baseline. She's stepping into it. And Amy's done the right thing. She's far enough over there where it's showing Laura that alley really is not wide open. She's going to force Laura to play it back cross court at this point. And really love what Gail's doing here is that she's got her focus on, in case that ball went to Amy, she's in that deflection angle territory and ready to defend. Okay, the ball goes back over, and good stuff here. We can see how Gail has readjusted to move herself up inside the service line. We saw how Amy has shifted back over to her right. Okay, now Gail has made the move here of intercepting that ball. It's coming right across the center. There it is. And so, when those balls are over that net strap, those are your balls. And the only question is, where is she going to go with it? Now, initially, this is interesting here. We can see this wide open area. But remember what I just mentioned to you about as far as your momentum. And you'll see her momentum is taking her off to the right. And instead of going to that wide area, she went where her momentum was taking her, which is right down at Amy, which is a very solid play. And you can see how she's stretched out, and as she's finally getting to this ball, we can see it's a little bit past center. And so taking this ball and hitting across her body a little bit down here, she's probably going to lose a little bit of strength and control on the shot. So going down at Amy at this point where her momentum was taking her was a real good play. Nicely done. And that completes our first installment.